Are you looking for a new whiskey adventure? Then climb in and buckle up. Get ready for one hell of a ride on the Whiskey Trip podcast with your host, Big Chief. Join in as he and his guests explore whiskey and dive into whiskey stories from around the world. Now here's your host, Big Chief.
Hey, it's old Big Chief, and yeah, you're taking another ride on a whiskey trip, baby. And do I got a story for you today, and I got a great guest. I'm going to take you on a trip to Owensboro, Kentucky. Yeah, that's right. That's the home of Bill Monroe, the godfather of bluegrass, the home of Kentucky barbecue, where they chop up old sheep and eat them, which I don't understand, but that's what they do there, and I've been a couple of those places. And it's also home to a couple distilleries, and one of the pumping distilleries today that's pumping out Kentucky whiskey is Green River Distillery. And I'm not having Green River on, but I've got a guy on that knows a little bit about Green River and a little bit about a lot of distilleries and what they're putting out. I've got Coming Whiskey on Instagram. That's his handle. And his name is Mr. Jacob Kiper. Now, Jacob, man, welcome to the Whiskey Trip, my friend.
Oh, thanks for having me. Happy to be here, absolutely.
Now, I've been watching you over the past 5 years sling out labels, and I'm like, there's some kind of magic this guy's going on. He's got the inside scoop to everything that's coming out, whether it be bourbon or any type of whiskey around the United States. I don't know that I've seen any foreign whiskey, international whiskey that's coming out, but you're spot on when it comes to American whiskeys. Can you tell listeners about that, and how'd you get started?
Yeah, so if you are familiar with my social media, mainly Instagram or not, Coming Whiskey, I post labels of whiskey products, American whiskey products that are coming to future and coming to market in the next few months, weeks, months, maybe 6 months out. So I get all of my information from a federal website, public domain website for the Federal Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau. You may have heard it referred to as TTB. So every single beverage alcohol label that's going to be sold in the United States, beer, wine, liquor, Boone's Farm, whatever, every new product, the label has to be approved by the federal government, the TTB. They want to make sure things are on the label that need to be on the label, and things that shouldn't be on the label or can't be on the label, that they're not on the label. So these new products, the label, it gets submitted to the TTB. Once the TTB approves it, it gets posted to a free public domain government website for the TTB. You don't necessarily end up there by accident going down a Google rabbit hole. You have to intentionally look for it, and once you get there, the website looks like it's in the late 90s. It's not exactly user-friendly government website, imagine that. But it is a window into the future. So every morning I spend, 5 minutes searching through any new American whiskey labels, and the ones that I think are interesting, that I think you and everyone else will care about, I post them to Instagram to let you know where your money's going in the future.
Yeah, you're like that inside scoop of, hey, this is what's coming almost, because it'll be a couple of weeks or even months before those labels hit a bottle, and then they get put out to the consumers like us, those whiskey nerds. So I'm always excited to see your post, and I'm like, man, I have to search for that bottle, or I don't know about that. That, in my opinion, that might be a mistake from that distillery. They're releasing something that I don't know that fits them. But it's always excitement when I see your post, and I've watched you kind of grow as the years have went on and stuff, and it's always nice to see your post, that excitement of something new. That's us Americans. If you see something new, you want it. You're like, oh, man. Sure. So I'm drinking on a bottle here that's new this year. This is Maker's Mark's, the Keeper's release. This is the, I believe, 10 Virgin Toasted American Oak Staves right here from February. Do you remember seeing this bottle come out and the label come out?
Yeah, I posted it, and as I recall, there's 3 different versions of it. they all come with different proofs. And while, it's the 10 toasted virgin staves, Maker's Mark clarifies that, yes, they're all toasted, but the toasting profile changes. So it's not just, every time we see one of these new Maker's products that has 10 toasted virgin French oak staves, they are different toast profiles. So it is a unique product.
Yeah, this is their standard mash bill of 70% corn, 16% wheat, and 14% malted barley. $75 for the bottle. That's what I paid for it outside of New Orleans a little bit, the north side of New Orleans. I saw it, and I was like, man, I'm a weeded nut anyways. So 109.2 proof. I was like, $75. I can do that. That's not hard. It isn't. And you've alluded to that this had, as we've talked before, that it didn't live up to the hype, or it's just what cast strength is what some people say, right?
Well, anytime that a limited Maker's Mark label, hits the TTB, people seem to be very, very excited about it. I feel like some people were probably a little disappointed over a couple of the Heart releases. Super high expectations, and they're perfectly good bourbons, but maybe didn't quite hit the mark that people were expecting for it to hit.
And I love this right here. It's got a beautiful nose on it, some dark chocolate. I get a little bit of raspberry and dark brown sugar, and obviously that vanilla, almost like a vanilla coffee. You got a vanilla bean or a creamer in your coffee. I got a little bit of that on that nose. I've had this open for a little bit, and then it's got a very delicate, to me, palate on it. It doesn't overpower you with spice, but you got that burnt caramel, a little bit of that chocolate and raspberry together. To me, this is very, very beautiful. It's got some cereal notes on it, that corn pop I'm always talking about. So to me, what a beautiful whiskey that Maker's Mark put out. I like to see new stuff from them, because for so long, Maker's Mark was just one label, one thing. Nothing else was coming out of there. And then along comes old Denny Potter and blew the top off of it.
And we just got an age-stated Maker's Mark hit the market. What is it, like a random, 7-year, 2-month, kind of a weird random age statement, but cool nonetheless?
Do you feel like when you're seeing that these days, like when Jim Beam put out their Jacob's Well stuff, and it had months on there, but it was like this astronomical, like 184 months and stuff. Do you think they're just playing with the consumer at that point?
So not so much. Listing the age in months rather than years is actually kind of a throwback to the 1960s and 70s. So, like right now, those fancy commemorative decanters, they've been gone largely for several decades. My wife likes to shop vendor malls and antique malls, old stuff. You ever go to one of those, probably any city in America, you're going to find a handful, if not a lot, of these vintage ceramic decanters from the 60s and 70s, and a lot of them, if not most of them I see, including Beam, it always has the age listed in months. And again, it might be 150 months, and in your head you're crunching the numbers. 150 months, how many years is that? But that was very much the thing 30 and 40 years ago, or well, I guess more than that now, but to list the age with months. So I think it's kind of a throwback to that generation of bourbon in America.
Yeah, for that, most definitely. I love seeing those decanters. I got a couple of them. Some of the ones I really love to find and buy are the Old Crow Chessman pieces and stuff. And if I could ever find one that's full, I'd probably just piss myself. Really.
So my wife and I, we hunt. My wife really likes these antique malls and vendor malls, and by law, they're not allowed to sell those decanters that are full. However, over the last few years, I have stumbled into bottles twice, small bottles, mini bottles that were full, and I know it was an accident because those never should have been in that store. But having found them sealed with whiskey twice, it is a high that I am always chasing. So anytime my wife wants to go to a vendor mall, I'm all in, because there's always that chance, probably not likely, but there's always that chance I'm going to stumble into another one that shouldn't be there.
Well, that's always, every once in a while I'll stumble across one, and I know there was an antique store. I'm not going to tell anybody what state it's in, but it has visited my brother. That's a little hint at that. But when I go visit him, last time I was there, I saw it, and we stuck it back in where it was to begin with because it caught my eye. It's a decanter, and it's full at an antique store. But that baby is mine when I go back. There's actually two of them. One's half full, and I was like, the guy was like, I thought it was a little much, but I reached out to a friend and said, what do you think this is worth, and should I buy it? And instantaneously, he's like, you should have bought it. You should have bought it. And I was like, God dang it.
Of course, the drawback is if it's in ceramic, it's probably not safe to drink. So that's kind of the drawback to it, though.
This is a 1972 decanter is what it is. That it's got like 12 or 13-year-old whiskey in it, or bourbon.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty positive it's Wild Turkey whiskey in there.
Oh, gosh.
So I really want to go back there and get it. And maybe it's not good to drink, but I might try it. I've tried some Dusties that I'm like, this tastes like a lemon pledge to me, and then most people are like, how do you know what lemon pledge tastes like? Well, it's that sense of, the smell of it, I guess. But yeah, I get that. Well, let's get back to talking about common whiskey. How did you start? I mean, you just didn't wake up one day and it's like, I'm going to start posting photos of labels.
So, all right. So I guess it ties back to my origin in bourbon.
Oh, I forgot to ask you before we do that. You're about to pull something right there. What are you drinking on?
All right. Well, one, I live in Owensboro, which is why I am so obsessed with Green River. So tonight, though, it's something that was actually distilled at Green River, but it's not their branding. Fresh off the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, this is Silk Velvet Whiskey, the small batch select. Every drop of this was distilled by Jacob Call at Green River in Owensboro before he left to start his own start a new distillery, Western Kentucky Distilling. But Silk Velvet, this was arguably maybe the biggest hit at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival in Bardstown last weekend. It was an unknown brand, and it definitely took the crowd by surprise. Henderson, Kentucky is local to me. Pre-Prohibition, Silk Velvet was a very well-known national brand. With Prohibition, the brand died like everything else. And then 100 years later, the Hargis family of Henderson found an old label and thought, let's bring this back. But what makes it fun is Zach Hargis, who runs the brand, he was the original IT guy for Jacob Call at Green River. And when Jacob Call left to go to Western Kentucky Distilling, Zach followed him. So Zach has been with Jacob Call at a distillery every step of the way. So this right here, though, is a blend of the standard Owensboro Green River mash bill and 7813-9 that Jacob Call distilled. So Jim Beam distills that mash bill as well, off the record. But so did Green River. So when Jacob Call left, he brought a bunch of barrels with him, and this is the blending of the Hargis family and Jacob Call. $50, 107 proof. This is good stuff.
$50 for 107 proof. That's a steal right there to me.
Yep.
And Jacob Call, for everybody, he was the master distiller at Green River. And before that, he made a little bit of rum back in the day. So I got to interview him for my last podcast show back in the day when he was at Green River. And he told me, he's like, your tasting notes are fitting because you're left-handed, and he's like, you're very detailed on your tasting notes and your nose. He's like, your brain works probably different than everybody else's.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I appreciate that.
And the man makes great whiskey. I feel like, 30, 40 years from now, we're going to look back, and I feel like Jacob Call is going to be one of the iconic names of this generation. And on top of it, he is one of the most humble, down-to-earth guys you're ever going to meet. The man knows whiskey. And just like people finding out at the Bourbon Festival, This is fantastic stuff, and every drop of it is Jacob Call.
Awesome. Well, let's get back to it. You were going to tell us, how'd you roll in this? You just woke up one day and said, I'm going to start searching websites and finding labels.
So, all right. So let's start with I'm 43 years old now. When I was 10 years old, back in 1992, my father passed away of cancer. A long time ago. So I guess it's maybe, I've lost track, 8 years ago. Something like that. My mom said, by the way, I saved the last bottle of bourbon that your dad opened before he died. It was a bottle of standard Maker's Mark, but in 1992, Maker's Mark was one of the, this bourbon boom wasn't here. Maker's Mark was a top shelf product in 1992. So yeah, she asked if I wanted it. Well, this was a bottle that's 3/4 full. My dad drank from it. I had a glass of it, and I decided I was going to put the rest back, not touch it again until my sons turn 18. I have twin sons. When they turn 18, I'll share a glass with them with their grandfather's bottle. But they never met. But at that point, I realized I knew nothing about bourbon, or at least not as much as any Kentuckian should. But this bottle that belonged to my dad, it stirred something in me. So I picked up a book by Clay Rice of the New York Times, and read it. And I liked it. And one book has, I think, currently spiraled into like 520 books that I've read on bourbon and American beverage alcohol history. So with that, I was on Twitter, or whatever it was called back then, and I came up with this idea that I was going to essentially live tweet all of my books, share these facts and things that I learned from my books, share them with people. Well, when I was active on Twitter, there was this account called Skew Eats, SKUEATS, and he did search the TTB and would post labels, but they were only like the big boy labels, the heavy hitter labels. And I thought, well, that's fascinating. So I learned how to do it myself. And more so, it was just me wanting to know, like, what's coming. And then it was, oh, that's fun. I'm going to send this to my friends. And they thought it was cool. And then when the idea really hit, the Weller Single Barrel label popped. And I posted it to one of the Facebook bourbon groups, and people went nuts over it. It's like, okay, people care about this. And there was nothing on Instagram about it, so I thought, let's try this. The first label I posted, I believe, was a Sagamore rye. It might have been a tequila finish. Maybe it was a Calvados finish. It was definitely a Sagamore Spirit rye. It might have been the tequila finish. And started there. And honestly, I really thought it would just be for consumers, like people like me. And then just realizing that the industry seemed to care about it. The first person in the industry that reached out trying to use me was Seth Bainheim of Broken Barrel Whiskey.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seth Bainheim, Broken Barrel, now with Mainland Rum, innovative guy, was the first person in the industry to realize, hey, there might be some utility to what we're doing here. But the federal government provides me with endless content almost every morning.
Now, do labels or brands ever say, hey, take that shit down, Jacob? We don't want that out there.
It has certainly happened. I think it might be 5 different brands or distilleries, bottlers who have said, don't post our stuff. We don't want you to. And I honor that. My goal isn't to piss anybody off. If they reach out and just, send me a message, an email, whatever, and just say, hey, don't post our stuff, I'm happy to do so. It is public domain. Anybody could go to that website and do what I do. But I still respect their wishes. Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to do that. I recently, actually this year, I got my hands on some photos and all the details on Old Fitz 7 year before anybody put anything. I think I don't even know if you had put it out yet, but they had some marketing stuff that was supposed to go just to their staff. I got my hands on it from somebody at Heaven Hill, and I said, hey, can I post it? He's like, oh yeah, post it if you want to. I don't care. And I posted it. and it blew up. Like, I was like, man, this is great. Kind of like you. I was like, man, this is working. Because you never can figure out the algorithms of social media.
Sure.
But not instantly. Like the next morning, I woke up and I had an email and said, "Hey, could you take that down, please?" And we'll take care of you. And I did. I was very respectful because I do not want to burn bridges with anybody in the industry. I'm always respectful of them, and I want them to feel loved. And I always say, my grandmother said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. And I try to stick to that no matter what. Even if I don't agree with other social media influencers, I don't like drama, and I'm not going to try to get into drama. Sure. It's not worth it for me. I'm a B52 in October, coming up here shortly. Good Lord. But I'm too old for that drama stuff. So I took it down, and sure enough, they did reward me for my taking it down and honoring them. They sent me a bottle of it, and I was so happy because there was people going goo goo gaga over it. Do you ever have the trolls out there that troll on you and say, oh, I hate that, or I'm gonna hate that, or that's gonna be trash?
It happens every now and then. There are a few people that do it pretty consistently, but it's all in jest. Oh gosh, there was an account that I blocked a long time ago. I believe he went by the name Crazy Nas, I think. And he loved to kind of go on my post and just kind of, crap all over brands. And it's like, you can disagree, you can share feedback, you can share opinions, but this Crazy Nas individual, it wasn't constructive. He was just there to be non-constructive. He was there to be aggressive, and just there's no place for that. So I just hit block and moved on from there.
Yeah, most time that's when I first started this, I couldn't do it. I'd always have to respond back and say, "Hey, I wish I'd have known, then just to leave it alone, just let it die on a vine." And but I'm very passionate about what I do, and like you, I have another job, a full-time job. Neither one of us are making millions of dollars at doing this. Surprise, surprise. Do we get good whiskey put in our hands? We do, and that's a nice thing. But we're not getting rich overnight from it, and it's a lot of work. You said you take 5 minutes, but you're all over the place, so I know you put a lot in this. What do you average a week that goes towards cumming whiskey?
Well, let's say most mornings, the actual process of searching the TTB, like, I've done it enough now that I know how to do it quickly. The biggest pain in my butt was maybe a year ago, the TTB added CAPTCHA. Is that how you said it? CAPTCHA, that you have to enter those weird little codes every time you want to look at a label. That was the biggest annoyance to me, because typically when I search the website, it's at like 4:45 in the morning when I'm walking my dog before work. So trying to hold my dog's leash in one hand and punch in those little CAPTCHA codes so I can actually read the label with the other hand, that's really annoying. That slows me down quite a bit. But, honestly, it takes 5 minutes to search the labels. I spend more time actually punching in like the name of the labels themselves and hitting draft, so that it's all saved in my draft early in the morning. I can just punch it later or even schedule them. I do spend more time, putting together the reviews. I've tried to cut back on the number of reviews that I'm doing solely for Cumming Whiskey. I also write for Drink Hacker, drinkhacker.com. I'm liking putting more of my review effort toward that, because I feel like Instagram is very ADHD. It's very just show me a picture and move on. So if I put the effort in to do this review for Instagram, I don't know how many people are actually looking at it other than the picture. So I do put a whole lot more time into storytelling, history telling, and detailed, like, long form reviews for Drink Hacker as opposed to Cumming Whiskey. But in general, people who may look at my content, it's honestly a lot of post and walk away. realizing as an adult, recently diagnosed with ADHD, not a surprise looking back, but I don't have a lot of the attention span to kind of sit there and stare at it all day. So it's a lot of post and walk away.
Yeah, some of that auto. A lot of people don't understand how the auto post works, and I try to use auto post, and a lot of people are like, "You're up way early in the morning." I'm like, "No, it's on auto post." And on my podcast days, I'm
Yeah.
on Tuesday mornings. I get up very very early, and I work my tail off. And some people are shocked by that, but I want to devote time to it. And if anything you enjoy, a hobby, if you're not going to put time into it, it's like hunting. If you don't put time into hunting, you're probably not going to be a successful hunter. The same thing with being a social media influencer or a whiskey writer. If you don't put the time into it, you're not going to be good at it, I don't think. Before we go to the half, let's take this year. What's one label that came out and you got your hands on and you were like, holy shit, this was worth it right here?
Maybe it's just recency bias. But the review actually would have post yesterday morning on Drink Hacker. Penelope Omega. The whole fun was when that label hit TTB, it was trying to figure out, well, what does Omega mean? Like what, and then of course I started doing the deep dive into the Redu, cooperage and what the Omega barrel is and their oak scan. And so I went this whole deep dive and, what exactly is this? Like what makes it Omega? And then I got to do a review of the bottle for Drink Hacker. And I historically have not been a huge fan of French oak. Now lately, I've had several that I love. So I don't know if it's my palate is changing or maybe just over the years, brands have gotten better at working with French oak and the whiskey's just getting better. That might be possible too. But I thought the Penelope Omega was absolutely fantastic stuff.
I love it. I mean, hey, even if it's recent, people are always asking, what's your favorite whiskey, right? And this. My favorite whiskey used to be Weller 107 or Weller Antique, whatever you want to call it. Weller Red, some people call it that. But today it's what's coming next. It's what's down the line. It's that next whiskey trip I take and somebody puts a bottle in front of me and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is just magic in a bottle, and get to learn how the distiller made it. I got a bottle of 1845 over here from Lowry Crossing, Texas, and I got to go up there and they got these German stills, and the German heritage in Texas is very prominent. The Germans really had influence on our landscape here. And beautiful thing that they're using German stills. I know there's the whiskey purist out there, the bourbon purist out there, that's going to be like, well, only good bourbon comes out of Vendome. That is not true.
No.
I get excited when I see something like that. And I was like wondering, hey, because they're in a big pecan orchard and they're using German stills and Texas grains, did it make that whiskey taste that much better? And I got so excited about it. I mean, and then I tasted the whiskey and I was like, oh my goodness. That's my favorite whiskey right there. That just makes my heart skip a beat, if it makes sense.
Well, one I want to add to that, also recency bias, but it wouldn't have mattered if it was recent or not. I honestly, and with that, when I search my labels, I miss things all the time. Like it's a big, huge, long list, and I miss things. And the owner or founder of Liberty Pole in Pennsylvania sent me an email. Oh, by the way, you might have missed this when you post this. You may know what I'm talking about. But Liberty Pole in Pennsylvania did a collaboration with Dad's Hat Rye, where they blindly sent 3 barrels to each other, and there were 9 different combinations, and they each independently did blending, and independently of each other, oddly enough, they both settled on the exact same blend. So it's a blend of Liberty Pole rye and Dad's Hat Rye. And within a matter of a week of, here's the label, they had a sample in my hands. And I turned the review in for Drink Hacker this morning. And I think it is one of the most interesting ryes I've had in a very long time. So I was super excited when I saw that label, even though it was like a week ago. Sipping it last night, yeah, it's fantastic stuff. Really exciting stuff.
Liberty Pole Spirits, Jim out there, he texts me all the time, and I love it when he texts me and he's like, hey, man, I listened to your episode. Thank you so much for devoting your time to whiskey, or whatever he texts me. Hey, that's a great episode you did, and I love it. And he was Liberty Pole Spirits was my 2020 for distillery of the year. I always have a distillery of the year and a whiskey of the year, and I just felt like they just do it right and treated me with the utmost respect. Jim is hats off. He knows how to do hospitality, and then his whiskeys up there are just phenomenal. And he's that Monongahela rye that's they're known for up there. He's killing it. And then just talking about the history of that region and the Whiskey Rebellion, I could go hours about that, just talking about the history. It's very, very fascinating. And Jim, I know you're listening, buddy. Hats off to you. Before we go into the break, well, Jake, I mean, we went over, and that's always, like I said, if the conversation flows, that's what a good podcast is about. We could talk for hours, I feel like, you and I. And we're going to talk for another 30 minutes on the second half, and I got some stuff to ask you about Owensboro barbecue and bluegrass music, maybe, and what you have to do with that. So, listeners, you stick with us. On the second half, I got a giveaway over here. I know you're going to want this free whiskey. You're going to want it. And make sure you check out the Silk Velvet whiskey from Jacob Call. I don't think that's something you want to miss. We'll be right back. Leaper's Fork Distillery is an artisan distillery working to bring back the history and heritage of a small batch whiskey production to Williamson County. The distillery crafts premium spirits using local ingredients and limestone filtered water to create superior spirits with a signature taste. Yeah, I love their wheated bourbon. Leaper's Fork Distillery is characterized primarily as a low-volume, low-impact concept of production. They are excited and honored about bringing back a lost art and industry to a county that always puts its history and heritage at the forefront. Visit them today at leapersforkdistillery.com. Hey, listeners, we're back for the second half, and I got Mr. Jacob Kiper with me, and we've been talking about Cumming Whiskey, his Instagram handle, his X handle, his Facebook handle, wherever you follow him at. Make sure you give the man a follow. And I was sipping on this Maker's Mark that I was drinking in that first half, Jacob, and I'm thinking about that story you're telling about your dad. And, I'm sure that those memories, those good memories with your dad, came flooding back to you, and I got to say hats off to you. That's what whiskey's all about. It's supposed to be about great memories. So cheers to your dad, my friend, and your great stories.
So, oddly enough, there's another fun aspect to that story. So, years ago, might have been 2020, maybe? No, 2020, it was 2021. No, it was late 2020. I shared that story on Twitter, kind of about my dad, and the fact that my mom gave me this bottle that my dad opened, and I was going to save it for my sons, who they're now 13, so they were really little at the time, and on their 21st birthday, I was going to share a glass of their grandfather's bourbon with them. I put it on Twitter, and at this point in time, like, Cumming whiskey had barely existed. I was still completely anonymous at that point. Was definitely not really on the public radar, but I put it on Twitter. And Maker's Mark saw it. And somehow they got my address. I don't know how they tracked it down. They got my home address. And Rob Samuels sent this personal letter. Basically saying how much that story meant to them. And they didn't want me to have to wait to drink Maker's until my sons turned 21. So they sent their brand ambassador to my house with a couple of really nice bottles, but also they invited me to come out to the distillery. And in January 2021, my wife and I visited, and we did like a 4-hour private tour at Maker's Mark behind the scenes. And of course, this was before anybody really, no one knew who I was at this point. My name was on nobody's radar. And they did this for a random guy on Twitter who had a touching story. But what made it fun, though, was makers didn't know that I took a picture of that letter and I put it on Twitter. And apparently that letter resonated with a lot of people because last I checked, it's been viewed like 1.8 million times.
Wow.
People who don't care about bourbon at all, never had a glass of bourbon in their life, were just talking about still how much that letter meant to them. You know, that what it meant for Maker's Mark to care about their consumers in that way and to offer that good faith effort to somebody. The letter meant a lot to me, but it meant even more knowing that it meant so much to so many other people. So Maker's Mark, fan for life.
What'd your mom think about that letter?
It meant a lot to her too. My mother never remarried. She did have a partner late in life, but she never remarried. And one of the most interesting parts was one of my dad's best friends was named Randy, and he reached out and said, "Just so you know, I shared a glass of that bottle with your dad before he died." So yeah, it meant a lot to me that Makers cared, and Rob Samuels cared enough to send that letter, not knowing I was going to share that with the internet, and then to see that it so deeply resonated with so many other people.
Yeah, I mean that's a deep story about Maker's Mark, and the funny thing is there's hundreds and hundreds of stories out there like that of how they treat their customers there. I think some of these craft distilleries out there could learn a lot about hospitality, how to treat social media influencers or whiskey influencers by places like Maker's Marks. One of my funnest, best interviews ever was at Maker's Mark in their conference room with Denny Potter and Jane Bowie. And and I did two there in that room. I did one with Rob Samuel where I made him take a famous photo of him holding wheat. And he's gotten a hard time for that photo, but just great people there. My wife, I watched her get just totally inebriated in that room, and she's not a big whiskey drinker, but to see her just relax and enjoy it, and they made her feel comfortable, is great. Well, I see you got a different bottle. What are we sipping on this second half?
All right, so same story, different verse. Western Kentucky Distilling. This is the new distillery that Jacob Call started with his brother and father, Ron Call, was largely the guy who helped create Jim Beam Black Label. It's about 30 miles away in Ohio County, so I always like to joke, is it really Kentucky bourbon if it's from Ohio County? But this right here was distilled still at Green River by Jacob Call before he left. I'm actually going back to Western Kentucky Distilling next week. Over the last couple of weeks, they have 2-year-old whiskey now. So going back to try that out. But this right here, this is an Owensboro Bourbon Society pick that I helped pick. It is the standard Owensboro Green River mash bill. But what makes this a lot of fun was I asked Jacob Call, like, when you went to Western Kentucky Distilling, you brought these barrels with you from Owensboro. Was there anything noteworthy about them? And he said yes. So he said when he was at Green River, and he had a distillation run that produced White Dog that was better today than it typically is. This White Dog run was just better than typical. Jacob Call purchased a lot of those barrels for himself and told a friend to do the same. That friend is now his business partner at Western Kentucky Distilling. So obviously you can't fully control what the barrels are going to do over years, but you can control starting out as better White Dog. A better foundation, that's what this is. This is essentially a 6-year, 8-month Owensboro bourbon at 127.2 proof. And this single barrel number 4, is absolutely one of the best single barrels out of Owensboro I've ever experienced.
Wow, I've had some good whiskey out of there for sure. Got to thieve some whiskey there. The rick houses there, to me, are simply amazing, and they're not big wooden ones or metal; they're brick. And the halls there, the wood, I think they're just. It is an amazing place. I love it. Green River it is a great place for sure. I'm drinking on. I got this little bottle in the mail, and it's fitting that it showed up because I was like, man, what I drink with Jacob, what am I gonna have? And I was like, I gotta drink 2 new whiskeys from 2025. So I just got this little package in the mail. This is Woodford Reserve's Sweet Oak Bourbon at 110.4 proof. And you've gotten a bottle of this so far?
So I got that same bottle. It showed up in the mail earlier today, but I have not opened it yet. So I don't know, this weekend sometime. I'll probably open it this weekend. So I don't know. What do you think about it? What's in store for me?
I love it. I might not love the price. Now this this thing has a price on it. It's $179.99. It's a 70 milliliter bottle, so you get those 50 milliliters. You're not getting those, but I'm gonna tell you, I like it. I'm a weeder guy. This is not a weeded bourbon at all.
Okay.
This is bourbon aged in a and I might say the chinkapin. Did I say that right? Chinkapin barrels. It's a smaller oak tree, American oak. This has got the aroma on this, and I was sitting there nosing it and tasting it while you're telling your story. I didn't want to be rude, but it cherries and raisins and clove and nutmeg. It's a rich nose on it. And then the palate is just full of sassafras or horehound candy. If you got that little root beer candy from Tractor Supply, that I'm not supposed to have. I love those right there, but horehound candy.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just an old country boy, so you're supposed to have these memories of what you've had, and that's what this is bringing back to me. Some baker's chocolate, just that little bit of not bitter, but almost bitter chocolate in here. Maybe some black tea or a tea resin there. And it finishes long. I mean, very, very long. Got a little oaky to it, but some dark fruit. 179, that might not be for everybody. That's a big price. And
Sure.
not everybody can afford that out of there. So I hope you like it. This just came out, and you might not see it on the markets in different markets. It's not all the way across the United States. I think only 5 markets, if I'm right: Kentucky, New Hampshire, I think North Dakota, and Nebraska, and DC only releases. So
Got to have North Dakota in there.
I think that's North Dakota. I was looking at the release notes for it and stuff, but still a beautiful whiskey. And I'm glad they didn't go with a 90.4. I would have been disappointed all day, every day with this if it was 90.4, but at 110.4, this might be a special bottle to pull out and share with good friends, and who I like to share this with is guys that can't get their hands on these bottles and stuff and pull it out and just say, hey, you want to drink some special stuff? I got some special stuff for you. And I actually know 2 guys that the Hemingway brothers I've had on the show. I'm going to share this with them, and I got a sample of the 2025 birthday bourbon. I'm going to share that with them too, and let them. I love sharing whiskey and sharing whiskey stories. Now, you're from Owensboro.
Yep.
Let me ask you: are you a Moonlight guy or an Old Hickory?
Okay. So, if you're not from Owensboro, Owensboro barbecue is hickory smoked mutton, which is sheep. We have 3 main restaurants. We have Moonlight, Old Hickory, and Old South. Now, if you Google Owensboro barbecue, Moonlight's all that's going to show up. That is the one that gets all of the acclaim, all the awards from out-of-towners. Locals laugh at that. Locals don't eat at Moonlight unless we have company from out of town. It's a tourist place. Massive buffet. It's perfectly good. It's good food. But it's an expensive buffet, but it's a very large buffet, more than you could ever possibly think of eating. It gets all the hype from out-of-towners. We only eat there when we have company from out of town. I live essentially right across the street and definitely in smelling distance of Old Hickory. It's very good. But my family has fallen in love with Old South. It's on the other side of town, and we would happily drive there every single time to get our barbecue from Old South.
Yeah, I've been to all of them. I don't think I have a favorite one. I think my wife would say Old South would be her favorite because it's not a buffet style, I think. So it's to her that would be the one to go to. Now bluegrass. Are you into bluegrass? I mean, you're from Owensboro, so it has to be in your blood.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I took fiddle lessons for years from someone who was a member of the Grand Ole Opry. Actually, my uncle, as a kid, played bluegrass fiddle, so I wanted to be just like my Uncle Fred. Actually, it was my mom's uncle. I wanted to be just like him. So when we moved back to Kentucky from Tennessee, there just happened to be this guy named Jesse Haycraft, went by the name Birdseed. Grand Ole Opry member. Now, he was noteworthy because he taught a lot of people to play the fiddle. His definitely most famous student, who was from my hometown, was Jimmy Mattingly. Jimmy Mattingly played for Dolly Parton for a while, played for Brooks and Dunn for a while, and he has been on retainer with Garth Brooks for 25, 30 years. So Jimmy Mattingly, the fiddler for Garth Brooks, was trained by the guy that I took lessons from. He also taught the guy who played for Montgomery Gentry in the early days. The difference is they all had talent and I didn't, which is why I am not a professional musician right now or getting close to that. But yeah. So growing up as a kid, we went to we did all the bluegrass festivals in the area. Yeah, that was a big part of my childhood, absolutely. Especially Bill Monroe.
Oh man, I tell you what, bluegrass music is almost ingrained in me. When I was a little kid and I'd go see my grandparents up in Arkansas, and we would go to this place called the Arkansas Traveler in Mountain Home, Arkansas, and I just it's closed down now, and I know when we go back there, we drive by there, and I'm like, man, I wish that place was open. But I wanted to give a shout out to a friend that just retired from the U.S. Coast Guard after 49 years, folks, on active duty and as a civilian. Jim Armstrong, he has a band out there called Kentuck, and he is one hell of a fiddle player. And when he was a young man, before he went in the U.S. Coast Guard, he got to play with Bill Monroe on stage. Now, that's a damn memory right there, I think. But hats off to you. I love, man, hearing that you can play the fiddle, too. Man, if I could have got you to play the fiddle tonight and show your skills, that would have been amazing.
I don't know if skills are the word I would use anymore, but I guess the closest thing I'm going to get to skills is the fact that I took years of lessons from the same guy that trained the fiddler for Garth Brooks. We'll go with that.
My little brother can sing and he can play the guitar, and he's very talented, retired U.S. Marine, but I didn't get those skills. What I got was a big old rich voice, the voice of whiskey, as I like to say, or some people have said. I don't know if I really am the voice of whiskey, but I try to use my voice to promote good whiskey. And I gotta say, this right here is growing on me. Maybe it's just because I've had a little bit of that Maker's Mark beforehand. But I tried to clean my palate out before we started on this. So what did you post this morning? What have you posted about today? What label?
Oh, see, today was actually a pretty slow day. The only, I think, super interesting thing was the New Riff Duet. It was a collaboration with Rheingeist Brewery, which is a prominent brewery in Cincinnati. It is Cincinnati. It's not. Yeah, It's not Northern Kentucky. It's Cincinnati. A Cincinnati brewery that I believe has national distribution. So one, it's a nice collaboration. But looking at the mash bill, one, it's at least 7 years old, but it's some wild mash bill. It was it was 43 or 51% malted barley, like 43% unmalted barley. And then I don't know what is that, like 6% rye, something like I don't remember the exact math, but it was mostly malted barley, and then unmalted, and then rye. I don't know, weird mash bill for sure, but it's New Riff, so I have no doubt that it's actually going to be pretty darn good.
More than likely, and I love that they're collaborating with a Cincinnati brewery there I've been to there. I was stationed up in Cincinnati. And for people that don't know, Cincinnati was once called Hogopolis. And they produced a mass amounts of beer. One of my favorite beers from there is Hootapal. But Hogopolis, and they'd killed so many pigs there at one time, because that was really right at the edge of the western frontier at one time. But all the blood for those hogs would run into the river and turn the Ohio River red. And I don't think folks could even fathom of how big the Ohio River really is there in Cincinnati. And it's even bigger in Owensboro, Kentucky. It's monsters, almost a mile wide there.
It's definitely pretty wide here in Owensboro.
Yeah, I know the river there like the back of my hand, just because of the Coast Guard. And there's actually a Coast Guard cutter in Owensboro, Kentucky, a river tender. They take and work the buoys there, set the buoys in the river for tugboats to go up and down the river stuff. Another shout out to another coastie that was on that cutter is Zane Mays. Great guy, loves whiskey. But going back to what has come out, what in the last month has shocked you that you're like, I can't believe this is happening?
Well, I guess one of the based on Instagram, one of the most exciting things is the Sazerac Rye Full Proof. The label hit a couple of days ago. 125 proof Sazerac Rye. People seem awfully excited about that. As far as things that are a little more highly interesting, recently over the weekend, posted a label for Daniel Weller Spelt Wheat. So, again, my wife has already said, don't even think about it. My wife's already said, you can't even put that bottle in your head. But yeah, a Daniel Weller Spelt Wheat. That's fascinating stuff.
I actually got a good friend. She's part of the Weller family, and she just recently moved back to Kentucky from Tennessee. April Weller Cantrell, and I asked her about that, and she was like, "Man, this is getting good. It's exciting." But I just did an episode with Matt Ray down in at the Sazerac House in New Orleans, and they told me all kinds of crazy stuff. Some of the stuff I can't say anything about, but I'm going to tell you that Buffalo Trace is going to blow some people's doors off, and they're going to flood the market with Weller, so that everybody can experience these expressions that they're putting out and stuff. And I love to hear that they're going to say that they're going to do that, and they're going to do it at an affordable price. When will that catch up? Somebody was just asking me that day when do I feel like the actual bubble will burst on the secondary market? And I'm hoping companies like that, this is what's going to make it happen. Or these liquor stores that are overpricing it, we're just going to have to ride on this for a while, and they'll just be on the stock, and then they're going to finally have to sell it for a little bit over what they paid for it. Because when you go in and see a Weller 12-year at $200 or $300, that's not what that liquor store paid for it at all.
No,
I think you'd be shocked. I think a liquor store might pay $39 for. Yeah. Maybe even less than that for a Weller 12 or the antique. So I'm hoping that this bubble we see will burst, and it's good for the consumer. Why the distillers might not be so happy. They're still making millions and millions of dollars, especially the big boys, not the craft distillers that we love so much. But I think the bigger guys, they're making plenty of money. So you're working for Drink Hacker as well and writing for them. Where are you going to take Cumming whiskey? Do you feel like Drink Hacker, that part of it is going to take away from Cumming whiskey? Where do you take this?
So there was a time when I was maybe it was just getting my feet wet and trying to establish myself in this community, where I did a boatload of reviews for years that were just Cumming whiskey. But then I realized, because I do post so much, which is the nature of the TTB, the algorithm isn't real friendly to my account. You post a lot. It's not friendly. So I kind of got to the point where it's heavily doing reviews for Coming Whiskey. I don't feel like brands were getting the attention they deserved. So part of me kind of felt bad about accepting bottles and samples, feeling like they, even though I've got, I don't know, in the next 2 months, I'll probably hit 30,000 followers. But my engagement's not great. I get that. So I've tried to kind of pull back from doing a lot of reviews for that, focusing on my reviews more at Drink Hacker. But I do want to focus more on photography. One of the big things is right now, like, I'm not great at producing like video content. I want to learn how to do that. At some point, I should probably like purchase one of those video editing apps or whatever. Any video you've ever seen of me, it was one take. Now, it may have taken me 8 attempts to get one take that I was happy with, but it's always been one take. I should probably learn how to do some actual video editing or whatnot. That's something I would like to add in the next year.
Don't do it. I'm just telling you. And I got a built-in piece. Teach your boys how to do the video editing part. They know more about technology, I think, than us older guys. Not that you're an old guy, but video editing and putting it all together is, I wouldn't even call it labor of love. I struggled with it. And I'm lucky that I have a niece, Kenzie, that I love dearly, and she helps me out and started putting my stuff together. And then I started getting better equipment, whether it be mics that, the DJI Osmo 3, Pocket 3 that I purchased this year just to do some videos with and stuff. And I'm like you. It might take me, I call it 8 takes. I'll do 8 to 9 different videos, and people, if I do one in public in front of people though, I usually really think about it and I can do it in one try. And they're like, how do you do that? And I was like, I did a lot of it. And it just comes with time and being comfortable in front of people and talking, being a public speaker. So,
well, and that's something with my one takes though. When I first decided that I was going to come out from anonymity and put a face, for the first 2 years of Coming Whiskey, my name wasn't on it. Nobody, like 3 people knew who was behind it. It was and a couple of my local friends. So yeah, when I decided to come out of hiding and put a face with it, it was a growing process getting comfortable being on camera, and it is getting easier now and easier to get those one take hits.
Well, I love what you're doing out there, and I hope that you do video. I said don't do it, but I hope you do it and you find yourself comfortable in it, and I look forward to seeing what Coming Whiskey becomes in the future. And I love reading your reviews on Drink Hacker and of your own material and stuff. I always find it fascinating. Where can our listeners find you on social media?
All right, so Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. TikTok and Facebook are more of an afterthought, but Facebook, all the posts from Instagram are linked, so it's automatic. But Coming Whiskey. I am on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, as OBKY Bourbonite, I think. Back in the old day, back before Coming Whiskey was a thing. But if you go to Twitter or X and just search Jacob Kiper, it'll pop up. I do post a lot of, any review that I do for Instagram, I just copy and paste it to Reddit as well.
Awesome. I love it. Well, listeners, I do have a giveaway this week right here. I definitely have a giveaway for you. I'm going to reach back here and grab it. I got a bottle of Eagle Rare because I got a little bit of stacked up at my house. Eagle Rare 10-year. No, this ain't the 12-year. I got a bottle of that, but I already opened it up and drank half of it. So, but this Eagle Rare 10-year right here, we're going to give this away to one lucky listener. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to make sure you follow Coming Whiskey. I want you to do that. Follow Jacob. Follow the Whiskey Trip. I want you to comment with an emoji of a sheep to honor mutton in Owensboro, Kentucky. Or I don't know if there's an emoji of a fiddle. I don't think there probably is. But if there's an emoji of fiddle, comment that too. So you get 2 different things. But the sheep would be perfectly fine. And then tag 4 friends. Hell, tag 100 friends on Instagram. And support Jacob. If you post it over on Facebook or X or on TikTok, anywhere that you see me post something for this week, in any post, and I'll post plenty throughout the week, make sure that you, tag it, share it, do stories of it, whatever, of the giveaway, and we'll put you in for this. The more people, the merrier. It helps the algorithm out for me, and it will help Jacob as well. Not that he needs the help. He's got a monstrous following, but let's grow his following a little bit. We'll give away some whiskey to one lucky winner. And you got to be 21. You got to reside in the United States. I still ain't shipping outside of the United States. So play along. I appreciate everybody's support. Jacob, any last words for listeners out there?
Well, lad, since you're giving away the Eagle Rare was the very first bottle of bourbon I ever purchased. For my job sent me to a conference thing in Frankfort, Kentucky, which is where Buffalo Trace is located. I was very new to this and went to the distillery. And back when you could just walk into the distillery and there would be Eagle Rare sitting there, days ago. I think I paid $35 for it at the distillery. So that, I guess technically that's where my bourbon journey began, was with the bottle of Eagle Rare 10-year.
That's somebody else's show, my bourbon journey.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Right. Let's forget I said that.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
I don't think Perry would mind you saying that. Oh my goodness, that's another podcast.
My whiskey trip was to Buffalo Trace, and I bought a bottle of Eagle Rare 10-year on my whiskey trip to Frankfort, Kentucky.
I love it. Hey, I support all other podcasters and social media influencers. As long as they're positive, I'll be positive about them. So, Jacob, once again, thank you for being a guest on the Whiskey Trip, my friend, and spending this hour with me and telling listeners about your show and kind of what's going on in the whiskey world. I really do appreciate it, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me. I had a great time. Absolutely.
Well, listeners, you know where you can find the old Big Chief. You can find me at the Whiskey Trip on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and now I'm on YouTube. Make sure you go to YouTube and hit that subscribe button right up there. Please hit it. I'm trying to grow. I got some goals and I want to reach them and stuff. But make sure that you hit that subscribe button, please. Follow me on all those social media platforms. If you're listening to me, make sure you listen to Mark and Matt from the Bourbon Life. They're always putting out great content. If you like what they're putting out and like what I'm putting out, leave us that 5-star review on Apple Podcast. That always helps open up doors to distilleries. It gets great whiskey in my hand, like this Maker's Mark, this Sweet Oak Bourbon. And it'll get great whiskey in your hand, too. It makes me want to give away whiskey that's on my shelf, like this Eagle Rare 10-year. And then it makes guests want to come on my show and talk to me, like Jacob from Coming Whiskey. And I know you're going to enjoy this conversation right here, or you did enjoy it. So keep listening. Take those reviews. If you write that 5-star review for us over there on the Apple Podcast, take and copy that and put it over on Facebook. I'm trying to get to 100 reviews before the end of the year, and my reviews are growing every day, and I really appreciate the support out there. Like I said, this is, I think, going to be 23 weeks straight that I've given away a bottle of whiskey on my show. At the end of the year, I'm going to take all the winners, and I'm going to have one big giveaway for one lucky listener out there that has put in for these giveaways and stuff, but you have to win. So that means you have to put in for it. Keep listening. Keep supporting me. This is Old Big Chief, and thanks for taking this ride with me, baby.